All right, welcome to Purple Politics. Uh, this is a show where you can get, information on political news or just daily content, content on pop culture, right? Commentary on popular culture. Um, uh, Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you're liking what you guys see. Also, if you're in the chat, I want you guys to comment some comment some things that you want me to talk about. Um, Today, I'm going to be discussing why black men are leaving the Democratic Party, um, and I hope we can have some productive discourse here. Um, um, to preface this conversation, I'm going to say that black men are not a monolith, nor should they be. No one should agree with me. I'm sorry, everyone should not agree with you or share the same opinions. And I think that having contrasting opinions is what makes America such a great country, and why the First Amendment is so important, right? Um, so with that aside, I think it's a few reasons why black men have left the Democratic Party. Um, Firstly, in my case, uh, conservatism moving to conservatism is more of a marriage of convenience. Um, it's not so much as like loving conservative principles, but a rejection of liberal ideology. Um, Coming from New York, you know, um, you are swarmed with the liberal propaganda, ideology, and you have like a cognitive dissonance from what is being purported versus reality, right? And I'll give you some examples. You know, Growing up in New York City, it was never lost on me how, despite being told about the liberal ideology of like we're all community and we're all one family, that there's heavy segregation. Segregation where, you might ask? Segregation in living spaces, segregation in schools. You know, um, when we think of racism or segregation, I think as black liberals we're given the boogeyman of like conservatives. So we think of like states like Alabama or states like South Carolina, Florida, Louisiana. Well, we're taught are hotbeds of racism. We think that that is where the most segregation is. But if you look at, especially you look at Brooklyn, you look at where the majority of black people live versus their white counterparts where they live, you realize that New York City is highly segregated. New York City is highly segregated. So despite the song and dance, and the performative allyship that we experience, that um, you realize that white liberals don't often mean what they say with like intention. Um, you look at schools. Schools are also highly segregated. White liberals don't send their children to the same schools as their black liberal counterparts. Um, you know, um, look at the racial makeup of public schools. White liberals are often sending their kids to private institutions. Um, um, they're not sending their kids to school with their black liberal counterparts. Um, even even um, even when we have issues like to rezone schools and like mix white public schools with black public schools, there often seems to be some kind of resistance from white liberals. They're like, "Oh no, we mean this is a good idea and we mean well, but it's it's probably too soon, or we don't want to rush it, and so there's always seems to be some kind of delay when it comes to put the pedal to the metal. So there always seems to be some hesitance when it comes to putting action behind ideology. Um, so one 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 is the rejection, the leaving the democratic plantation, if you will, comes from the awareness of the disparities between what liberals say that they believe versus what they put into practice. Um, um, Second, I want to say is probably um, certain ideologies. You know, we look at many modern liberal ideologies like the feminist movement. Um, I think black men have rejected not the feminist movement as a whole, but some of the claims that they make specifically towards how power is distributed. I think black men have rejected the idea that black men are part and parcel of the oppressive power structure. Um, white like black women have largely bought into the idea that black men are a part of like the the patriarchy, if you will. I think that black men are arguing that is like are saying like, well, if we're part of the power group of the patriarchy, then we would have given ourselves more power. How are we a part of the patriarchal power structure when we are living in the same projects and ghettos in which you live? And how is this like? How is there some like carte blanche acceptance of like the white woman liberal as your ally when they don't live in the same spaces in which you live? They do not send their kids to the same schools as you. So again, there's this like hypocrisy from what is purported to be reality versus what we're actually experiencing with our own eyes and ears. Um, if you look at the last election, um, thirdly, if you look at the last election, um, some of the programming was just not geared towards black men. If you look at the platform on which Kamala ran, her main issues were pretty much like uh, pro choice and Trump is evil, pro choice and Trump is evil. And I remember even when she was interviewed, she she was asked like, what do you plan to do for black men? Like, what do you specifically plan to do for black men? Especially because your performance and backing from black men does not seem to be where it needs to be. And out of the horse's mouth, she said, "Well, black men don't owe me their votes." And I guess I guess while that may be true, that's still not giving black men a reason to vote for you. Um, um, you know, ir- Ironically, like when you hear the term, say her name. Black women we're asking Kamala to say their names, specifically appeal to issues affecting black men that black men care about. There seems to be this liberal agenda to separate the black man and black woman as if our destinies are like independent and stand on their own. And as a black conservative, I believe that this is a fallacy. I believe that man and woman's destinies are inherently tied together, as they are a part of the nuclear unit of the family. There is no separate male destiny, separate female destiny. There is no establishing your identity independent of the other. Um, And it seems that while I do appreciate the liberal idea that we need to make space for people who do not fit in the boxes, because I mean, I do think that there are people that, you know, who don't fit into the hard line like categories of what is traditionally masculine or feminine. And we should allow spaces for these people to exist. But when you throw the baby out with the bathwater in making the claim that traditional male and female roles are purely social constructs and have no inherent biological like basis, that's when I tend to defer. I do believe that there are traditional male and female roles that must be maintained and filled at the detriment of a community at large. Um, Again, allowing people to exist in spaces outside of this binary paradigm, but you can't say that men are not naturally meant to be protectors, and men are not naturally meant to be providers, and that women are not inherently meant to be nurturers, and that women are not inherently meant to be mothers. Again, I'm not saying that every man must be a protector or every woman must be a nurturer or have some kind of maternal instinct, but to say that being male or female does not inherently like that that these associations that we make with the male and the female are just social constructs. I think that I think that this is just untrue. Um, why else have black men left the Democratic Party? Um, they don't they don't like we don't like the feeling of disempowerment. We feel like our roles are being replaced by the government. Um, um, there were many social programs put into place to remove the black male from the home, and so the black male has been taken away from the home. You know, we've been disenfranchised, disempowered, and um, our we believe that liberalism is a failed experiment. You look around at our communities, the the debauchery that you see is largely the result of 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 the liberal ideologies that are largely espoused by the Democratic Party. When you have like Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B rallying for you, you know, as a father to a young daughter, I ask myself, like, is this the role model that I want? Is this who? Is this who? Is this who I want my daughter to emulate when she grows up? And you know, I feel like largely whenever a critique of how Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion carry themselves, I think an appeal is made to the amount of money that they have or the monetary success that they have, and it's like what does it benefit a man to gain the whole world and to lose their soul? Um, Drug dealers make lots of money as well. They are financially compensated, but what is their contribution to humanity, and are they truly happy? I think that's the question that we must ask ourselves. Um, um, yeah, So I'm gonna pause for a little bit, let people come into the chat while I take a little break. Please come on in, like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, like, comment, and subscribe. Um, all right. I'm waiting for more people to join the chat. So yes, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Um, and I'm gonna end it right here. Uh, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to hear more from Purple Politics. Thank you guys for joining my live. Like, comment, and